We are live in 2 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to the Think Tank. Each day we share the news in open dialogue and we discuss how it might affect the business world. We speak with different leaders on crisis navigation and management, as well as experts in professional and personal self-betterment. It's meant to be a break in learning and sharing of good news and ideas and best practices as we evolve out of COVID. Thank you for joining, everyone. We've got our mobile reporter, Robbie Sawyer, reporting from I-75. And we've got Alberto Elizondo reporting from the golf course. Thank you, Alberto, for being here. Doug Carroll, advisor to board executives. Anyway, we were just discussing a shift as I turn Robbie off. Shift in content and focus to now that we've done COVID and now we're preparing to get out of it, what are some best practices for that and how we would go forward doing that? And now I'll unmute Robbie because he thinks he can be heard, but he cannot. So stand by, Robbie, and go, Robbie.
No, I'm excited to announce that it's going to be great to have on a few different, people that, we kind of spoke with, full on meeting a few of her team members from different places around the country to see how they, are adjusting and evolving, if you will, now that all of that particular companies and most of it would be fun to have them back beginning probably next week if you guys think that would be useful.
Yes. Robbie was taken over by aliens during that transmission. So what we have to share is that we are shifting. We are shifting focus to how we are actively engaging now and re-entering into the new, and we're going to try and get some honest reactions to people to hear how that's going and best practices, because at Thinkers we love to talk about what is it that we love to talk about? Iteration, or that's two the same. Iterative innovation, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, Doug. So iterative innovation, where we constantly experiment and try things and move forward in doing so. And we're honestly doing that too right now. It's we've been asked several times, and we're now deploying a couple different things in which we're going to have this really fun suite and unique suite of webcasting tools where we can take guests and speakers from various different locations, bring all the signals in, and then push them back out for everybody to see, and basically do a live TV show with 10 different remotes. So that's kind of interesting. We're playing with both hardware and software to make that happen.
I need an operating manual for that.
It's not an operating manual, but an operator.
I need a tear sheet. No, I scratched that, what I just said. Yeah. I need the advertising tear sheet.
Yeah, it's really interesting. We were kind of called to task, and for a while there, we were trying to utilize existing resources and personnel, and then said, well, that's kind of silly. So we've had brilliant techs that have worked with us in the past, but the latest stuff we've been doing has been very mundane and they would get bored quickly. But I'm happy to say now that we've got some pretty big things in the works here that'll keep those really smart guys challenged with some unique options there. So that's what we're working on. Have that ready sometime next week.
Because like I just had an email conversation with a rock star.
Yep.
Okay.
Like we all do, Doug.
Well, this one's actually related to my family.
Oh, okay. Do we ever get to know that name?
Sure. Jeff
Okay.
Tatum.
Jeff Tatum. Okay.
Lead singer, creative guy behind Queensryche.
Okay.
Just elected to the Heavy Metal Hall of Fame, voted one of the top 25 voices in rock and roll history.
Wow.
And
so what's he doing?
we're sitting in his house in Washington, staring at the wall because all of his tours globally canceled, right? And so the conversation we were having back and forth was, okay, I've got several ideas, but I have no bloody clue how to create a worthy production web stream that would allow me to do these things that I'd like to do. Okay. And there are several. We're trying to get together a call in the next couple of days on it. And, and my daughter, her dance studios are, it's been all patched together, web streaming, to teach their stuff. I'm working with one of the local Dallas theaters, maybe, to figure out how to bring their services online, during a shorter period of time before they can get some of the things open. And there's a whole list of people that, that have just reached out to me. And one of the things I say is, guys, I've learned one thing from Sam in these little webcasts, because because right now it's just you and me.
Darn it. And two people on YouTube. Thank you for joining, everybody.
Yep.
It's like you're in our head, but you're not.
But what I've learned from you is this isn't easy. You need a professional to make this really work. And so it's stuff like that. And then if we did this, I'd recommend going to, hey, Robbie, I'd recommend going from every day, maybe twice a week, where, when we came in, we'd be able to have a richer content because we didn't talk about the stuff a day or two ago.
Let's do Tuesday, Thursdays.
Yeah, I think that kind of thing would be good.
What do you think, Robbie? Or do you think you need it every day? You're muted. I'll unmute you. Unmuted you. You're speaking. Go, Robbie.
Yeah, that's cool.
Robbie,
I'm here.
Did you hear that?
No, I'm sorry. I didn't hear it.
So we're just suggesting that maybe we just go to a Tuesday, Thursday format.
Okay.
And then that way that'll give us more time to not only prepare, but bring people in and kind of do that if we wanted. Or not necessarily Tuesday, Thursday, but just go to a couple days a week as opposed to every day.
Week, yeah.
Yeah.
And like I'm doing work right now, this is just going on in my head as much as it is anywhere else, although I've had some back and forth with Dr. P on it, and that's what's the changing, and this is very thinkers in thinker space. I think there's a sea change happening in innovation that if you want to succeed in the COVID environment, and this goes back to some of the fun we were having, relative to finite games and infinite games and existential flex from Simon Sinek. You've got to shift your view of innovation down to an individual level, and you've got to inspire creativity, not the framework that is in innovation. You got to have creativity first if you're going to work fast enough to be able to meet the next COVID. And and I think there's some good conversations we could have around that kind of stuff. It'd be fun to have some conversations with the folks, like I said, that they're opening up, or they have clients that are opening up, and what are you seeing, and how are you reacting to what's happening in real time? Because from as near as I can tell, everyone has an expectation of what's happening in reopening, and everybody that then goes and throws their doors open is finding it's entirely different than what they expected, and they've got to flex in the middle of that. Because people are different. The customer has got different expectations. So anyway, that would be my 2 cents worth, is to think about not the disease and where we're at, but what are we doing now that we're there?
How we're moving forward and what's working for you.
That's it.
Yep.
You know what's interesting though, Doug? I talked, I think a little bit earlier in the week, just from my experience over in Savannah. It's so and again, speaking in terms of the hospitality world, hotels, restaurants, and I guess to a certain extent, the airlines and the airports, man, it's so regionally driven. What you just said a minute ago, it's like, what's the expectation? Are things happening the way you thought they were going to happen? Right? The clientele or the clients are changing in some regard, but it was pretty crazy in Charleston. I commented on Savannah. Man, Charleston, I mean, it was absolutely crazy, the number of people. I went into 2 different grocery stores and you'd see 2 or 3 people with masks on.
Yep.
I don't know that I went into one place that actually had plexiglass up.
Right.
And people were wanting to get out and do their thing. And, I think there's going to be some safety precautions. Of course, when you pass in front of the Apple store on King Street in Charleston, they're allowing 2 people in at a time, and everybody's got gloves on and masks, and, but then you walk next door and, it's like a completely different world. It was just weird.
But what you're seeing there, but that's the conversation I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Having helped run and build the Apple stores.
Yeah.
Okay. What I know there is that we run from a uniform playbook. Okay. So, I mean, it is hard driven. Once we make a decision, this is what we're going to go do. Now, if you're Christine, okay, and I've got unique experience driven properties in Charleston and in Dallas, what's the difference that you're going to see in those 2 cities? What you're talking about, because we're being told a lot of things from the media that are being driven out of New York, Chicago, and LA.
Right.
And in those cities, you're seeing the grocery stores put up the plexiglass. You're seeing one-way aisles. You're seeing the stickers. I was on a long call yesterday about the fact. Remember, we've all had this conversation. That we don't really know, because the lawsuits started last week, where people started to sue. So the COVID era lawsuits have begun. I don't know if you guys saw that Disney put out a new language when they opened up Disney Springs. And it was explicit. It said, when you enter our property, you are taking you're accepting that you have a risk of getting COVID-19.
Wow.
On this property. We at Disney are not liable. We will take every precaution, but we are not liable. You individually are liable for that risk. And they're broadcasting it on the speakers. It's on the tickets, and it's posted on signs. And you go to Charleston doesn't need that because they don't care.
Yeah.
Right. And so if we're talking about individual small businesses, how do you deal with that? And I think Robbie's comment, I absolutely think it's insightful and important. If you've got a larger business that's regional, what do you do about the regional differences between, Charleston and New York, which is like day and night or 2 planets?
I guess all politics and plans are local.
Well, Trump has made it that all the control went to the governors and the cities. That's absolutely true.
Yeah, and that's,
how do you deal with it?
Yeah, and clearly the 2 destinations I discussed, heavy, areas that are Republican.
Right.
So,
and independent.
Yes, no, very much so.
Yeah, but the other thing besides COVID driving things. To your point, the lawsuits will drive things.
Yep.
You know, so hey, it worked down there. I'm gonna do it here because these people aren't even protecting themselves as far as legal's concerned.
Well, but the difference there is if I'm an airline, if I'm Marriott, if I'm Disney, if I'm Apple, okay, my lawyers are going to tell me I've got to follow these protocols, and it won't matter where it is, right? And then how's that gonna unroll?
Right.
You know, right? Because what Robbie just said, the Apple store has got a line of people outside that they're socially distancing, and they're only allowing 2 people in at a time with masks. And the dude next door has got a bar that's got 300 people shoulder to shoulder that are half naked.
Yeah.
Right.
No, listen, it's crazy. I mean, I think the Elite is supposed to have over 50% occupancy in that hotel this weekend.
Really?
Yeah. The Adolphus opened today. Feel free to go get a cup of coffee at Otto's if you're downtown.
Okay.
I think they're easing into it, but I think right now they have 40, 50 rooms booked for Friday night. Of course, it's a holiday weekend. The pool is open. So it's just, but again, what's weird is in Denver, Halcyon, the property's open, the restaurant's open, but the pool's not open of all places. So, but yeah, you're right. I think you hit the nail on the head, Doug. If you're dealing with a company or an organization that is a, global company, certainly publicly traded company, I would think.
Oh yeah.
You're going to have to adhere to a different set of standards. And at the end of the day, Apple, obviously not being a great example of that, it'll be interesting to see if a consumer tends to shy away from some of those types of environments because they've been forced to do things a certain way.
Well, and you're going to, but then what you're going to start to see too, I believe, is the rank priority of the service that those people provide. Okay. I don't believe Apple will suffer. In fact, I think they'll thrive.
Not a good example, right?
Well, no, but I'm going to use that on purpose. Okay?
No, that's what I mean. It's not a good example of a company that's going to struggle based on. Yeah.
But even though what I'm saying is people are going to prioritize going there, and they'll do whatever it takes to go to Apple. Whereas if you look next door, in quotes, to Nordstrom's or Penny's, they won't choose to, go there if it's inconvenient. Right. And so what will you see the shift be as you start to see the differentials between the experience of saying, I want to go to Apple badly enough, I'm going to go to Christine's Hotels. Mm-hmm. Okay. One of the things they've talked about is we're going to hold our prices. We're going to hold our experience, right? We're not going to try to move off of that. I think that is brilliant strategy because they will get the loyalty of the right customer to come. The customer that will be, that'll be there, that'll pay the money, and they won't just get a weekend bargain hunter.
Yeah.
Disney's banking on the same basic thing, is that if you want to come to my park, you want the right experience to be as safe as you can, to be able to experience Disney, even if I tell you you're at risk.
Yeah. Real quick, off topic a little bit. I heard you say JCPenney's. Was there any validity to the story about Amazon possibly being interested in buying JCPenney's? Did you see that?
They're in negotiations.
Wow. Okay.
Don't count on that.
Right. And what would the purpose of that be?
It's twofold potentially. One is the idea. One of the things Penny's has that is really strong is their in-house branded fashion stuff. So they've got, Arizona Jeans and Liz Claiborne. They've got a bunch of great fashion brands.
Okay.
And if Amazon can get them inexpensively enough, essentially what they would do is pick up those brands and move them into the virtual warehouse of Amazon. But it gives them a fashion name recognition that Amazon themselves don't have. Okay. Then there's the other piece is one of the things Amazon is fighting right now is that in the moment that they're at, Kroger's and United Grocers and somebody else, I can't remember which one, they're beating Amazon on the grocery business because they've got a much broader brick and mortar footprint to deliver groceries. And Amazon has only got Whole Foods basically. And so what you might see is that the brick and mortar, they might go in and do some intentional picking of the skeleton of JCPenney to gather brick and mortar locations to do some staging. They may even be dark kitchens and a bunch of other stuff. Because I think it was Penny's. Was it Penny's? Yeah, I think so. They said one of their strategies was they were going to spin off some of their real estate into a REIT and try to get some value out of that. And so if that REIT got spun out correctly, it could go immediately into where Amazon was interested in that REIT. So
that's cool. Here, scatter shooting a little bit. I also noticed just a few minutes ago that MGM has announced that they're going to be opening their 2 casinos in Mississippi.
Oh, really?
On the 25th, invitation only, which I thought was interesting.
High rollers.
Yeah, the high rollers, and then they'll open them up to the general public, I guess, June 1st or something like that. So that'll be interesting to see how far behind Mississippi Vegas is, and Atlantic City and some of the other places.
That is interesting. It's sort of the same thing. I don't know if you guys had any chance to watch. I was doing some work on the computer and I was sitting in front of a TV and ESPN was on and they were all talking about the college and pro football, reopenings that have been announced. And they had one president or GM I take that back. I think it was the AD of a major college program, but I could be wrong. But they were basically saying they have not even started to figure out how to clean a stadium. That there's so much prep work to go, from here that they're at today. The idea of getting just the team through it is tough enough, but they were saying we have no idea what it would look like to have a stadium ready, policies ready, the way people would get in, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But the number they talked about was that the Power 5 conferences stand to lose $4 billion this season if they can't get it rolling.
I got to believe that's something somebody's got to be talking and having at least preliminary discussions about that.
I would think so.
UT announced yesterday, Mike, I don't know if you heard this, UT announced yesterday that they are going to be opening school on campus on the 25th, but then sending everybody home basically at Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And Notre Dame announced that they were opening.
Notre Dame said they're opening 2 weeks early, which I thought was interesting.
Yep. But if you've ever been up there, I lived in South Bend. Notre Dame, you go to Texas and, Austin's campus and number of people is ridiculously huge. Notre Dame is an extremely tiny school.
Yeah, really.
Physically, there aren't even 10,000 kids. Notre Dame, for what it is, everybody thinks of this powerhouse. It's really small.
Wow.
Gents, I need to jump, so I'll pass hosting over to somebody. But then should we think about doing push until Mike, we were talking about moving and just doing twice a week with this, and maybe just do Tuesday, Thursdays. That way we can get more people on and prepare and market and have perhaps more meaningful content.
Yeah, and I'm actually looking for people that could actually, you know, as much as I've been shooting speakers and stuff, it's like you guys, you run into these guys who have something to say. And I got cards that I could look through some of those and see if we can get somebody who's recently done something.
Yeah, and the push is going to be not what are we doing in the meantime, but how we're actively going out and what are some best practices in doing so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I got a couple.
That's what the focus will be.
I'll take ownership of Tuesday and Thursday next week unless somebody else has somebody that they get on the hook.
Do we want to do tomorrow or just wait till Tuesday?
Happy hour is good.
Okay. We can do tomorrow.
That's kind of fun to do that, but
all right. Well, so I'll see you tomorrow at happy hour at 4 and I'll just pass this.
Well, let's just go bye-bye.
Yeah, let's just sign off now.
Okay.
Peace out. See you tomorrow at 4.
All right.